And so I want to step back for a moment and say, what's the why of our fit facility training? And at the end of the day, I like alliterations and mnemonics and fun things like that. So I called it the fit facility. But actually, what this is preparing us to do is to create a high performance building, a roadmap, as well as the journey from getting from point A to point B. And one of the things that I'll be doing as I've been building these progressively is there are aspects where we could go much deeper on topics. So there are certain things about how do you get from point A to point B? How do you even know how much energy is being used in your building? How do you know what systems, what trade-offs are there, what construction materials, all of that information. And my plan is both with that information, so starting from even siting, SITING, the building, where do you even go with it? How do you orient your building? What is your building design, right? The footprint of it, the height, the structure, and things like that. My plan is to take us deeper and have a separate complementary training that discusses that. So there'll be several areas where we go through today's training where I'll seek to remember to let you know that this is an area where there will be an additional complimentary, free of charge, complimentary training made available with it, whether it's going to be video training, perhaps a booklet, workbook, things like that. So again, the end goal is on week 4, we will be applying that framework to whatever facility you choose. And so again, the first part of this with the fit facilities, evaluating the current status of the facility that you have if you know it. Then again, as I keep saying over and over again, but I don't think I can emphasize it enough, is to, when I say timeline, timeline might be phasing, right? This might be fiscal year X for my organization. And then in the next fiscal year, or it might be in this quarter or that quarter. So what is the timing, the phasing of how you get from point A to point B if you're not necessarily there yet? Then what we're going to do is we take a look at this information. Is there are tools that are available, and we'll discuss a few of them during today's training, and then again, supplemental complementary training will go a little more deeper into some of these. So ASHRAE Green Guide, I'll hold this close to me. This should allow you to see it. This is a beautiful book. I've mentioned to people I'm an ASHRAE girl, have been for 20 plus years. And there's so much goodness in there. And again, the energy efficiency standards, which then apply to indoor air quality and environmental quality, all go back to ASHRAE and other systems such as that. Then there are various building rating systems. We'll do an overview of those today. And then what I'll do is create another complementary training, because that in itself is at least an hour discussion to give it enough meaning and depth to it. So we'll touch on it, and then I'll have some complementary information that will follow as we go here. So by the time we get to week 4, you'll have that in your hands. There are also simulation and selection tools. So simulation might be the building energy modeling, right? What is my demand? What is my solar load? What happens if I use a particular R value for the insulation in my building? What happens if I put this solar reflective cool roof on my building? How is that going to affect my load? What if I put a PV array on my roof? There are a number of considerations when it comes down to that. But an example with photovoltaics would be, if you're absorbing the energy, the solar energy, you're going to have less typically striking the roof of your building. So there's a change in the load on the roof, as well as, are you in a place where you can actually make use of a PV system? Or do you have trees nearby? Or if you're in a metro area, do you have a high-rise building that during the peak of the day, it casts a shadow on your roof and you can't generate enough solar, even if you're in the sun belt? As well as selection tools. A lot of the manufacturers have their own selection tools. So when I worked for Trane, all of our equipment had selection tools, so I could put the conditions in there, as well as other companies that I'm involved with, Valent, Greenheck, and things like that, et cetera. And then obviously you have more generic industry-facing tools that are out there as well. The EPA types of, or excuse me, not EPA, but DOE, Department of Energy, has simulation and selection tools as well. So there are a number of items that are available to you. And then what help might you need? Do you need consultants? Do you need engineers, a consulting firm? Likely you need one or more PEs or professional engineers. What kind of contractors do you need if you're doing a lot of construction? What about service providers, whether you're at the very beginning of your building or as you're going on with ongoing maintenance? And then what type of product providers? So do you want to choose best in class? Because sometimes first costs might be excessive, so you choose to go to a different tier provider. But those are some of the things to think about. And then again, we talked about this in the first session somewhat. And in the third section next week, we'll be going into financial incentives and assistance along the way at a deeper level. So again, we can be prepared for week number 4. And then finally, the total life cycle view into your facility. From the time ground is broken, and even before it's broken, when you're looking at, I might want to build a facility on that site right there, whether it's a green field, as in we're going to have to take down trees, perhaps work around trees, grade, have the appropriate grade on the land. We have proper water control, things like that. Or am I doing perhaps a brown field where I'm removing a building and building on top of that? So there are different incentives in that. And then throughout the life of the building, including end-of-life disposal for building materials, for equipment, and things like that. And so I always like to say you want to begin with the end in mind. And if you're doing new construction, let's bake in a high-performance building. And if you're doing retrofits and remodels, depending on where your facility is today, there will be bolt-on. Adding that to it, we cannot, unless we want to take it all the way down, right? We are living with what we have currently and making the best of it. So what are the informed decisions and choices along the way? So again, your facility has a lot of information in it. And so how do you unlock that power within your building? So it is a gold mine of information. And today, there's a lot of manual integration that we'll talk about in week 3. But there's a lot of information that you can use within your facility to make informed decisions. So one of the key things where we take a look specifically at energy management systems, or that top level control, some call them building management, building automation. I'll keep repeating that. For some people, you've done this for years, but other people, this might be the first time you're seeing this information.